All right. 11 through 20. Let's do it. So up next, we've got a laceration of heel initial encounter. So again, I'm like, ooh, anytime they say initial encounter, I started thinking I'm probably going to need a seventh character for this one. So laceration is the problem. So let's just start with the word laceration. And then anatomic site is the heel. So probably going to have 1,000 entries for laceration. So we want to get to just that main term. That's my goal. Lots of different lacerations. I think I'm probably going to have to go through my index because I see lots of types, but I'm not seeing what the anatomic site is. Okay. Oh, let's go the old school way here. Start with the L's. Ah, I love it. It took me right to laceration. Yay. All right. And now we've got to get to heel. So that's abdominal wall, peritoneal cavity, lower quadrant. Calf, chest, foot, not quite, face, heel. Okay, so heel says see laceration foot. All right, I was just there. Should have stayed there. Laceration foot, axilla, calf. Foot says the laceration toe. Oh my gosh. Oh man. Laceration toe. What do you want from me? All right, hold on a second. I'm gonna do this. Laceration foot. I think foot's better than toe. Okay, let me start here. So I decided that was taking too long. Um, index. Oh, and as soon as I said it's taking too long, then I find the answer. I love it how that works. Okay. So I think this is going to be the correct answer here because it says accept toes. 391.319. All right, let's check this out. I feel like we're on the right track here. Now it's going to take us over to our S codes. Remember, S codes always have seventh characters. Come on. S91. Whoop, went too far. There we go. And then what else does it want from us? Well, it wants to know whether it's the right or left foot. And if we can't tell it what foot, we got to go S91.319. S91.319. And then all that's left is we need to identify the seventh character. So remember, good habits always go to the beginning of the category. In this scenario would be S91 is your 3-character category. Always read your instructional notes. Your includes, excludes notes, and then of course it tells us the appropriate seventh character is to be added to each code from category S91. And your choices are A, D, or S for initial And we're going to choose A for initial encounter. Boom. That's how that's done. All right, next we've got acute and chronic cholecystitis. So I'm going to go for this term of cholecystitis. And now I'm thinking in my head already, I wonder if there's it's not telling me that I need two codes. So maybe there's a code that represents both the acute and chronic all in one. So when I looked up cholecystitis, the first thing I just noticed over here is chronic and acute both are represented with code K80.46 inside of the index. So I'm like, okay, all right, I think I'm on to something here. So maybe we should just check out K80.46 and see where that takes us. But then I noticed down here, there's this other code, all right, K80.12, and this also represents acute and chronic. Okay, we're on to something here. So that's in our index. So let's go over, and I'm still just, I did a little search with the keyword, and now I'm just looking through the K codes in the actual tabular section, and then I'm looking for acute and chronic. K81.80, acute cholecystitis. Here we go. Acute cholecystitis with chronic, K81.2. There we go. K81.0 is acute, K81.1 is chronic, and K81.2 is acute with chronic. There we go. Final answer, K81.2. That's another thing, guys. As you're growing in your knowledge of these first letters of what they represent, again, when you're doing your keyword search, you can go, if you know that all of your suggestions are coming from the K codes, then we know that's digestive system. You could just click on all of the entries there and you could scroll through it. Sometimes I think it's better than scrolling through all of those entries in the index. You have to start at the index to have a starting point, right? To have some clues as to what code you want to look for. But once you know what codes that are being suggested, then, maybe just scroll through to the chapter where those codes reside, and then pick it up from there. All right, that works. Up next, we've got varicose veins in the lower leg detail. This is second trimester pregnancy. Okay, so this makes it a very specific type of codes. Anytime that they mention pregnancy, you got to think O codes, okay? Anytime you're thinking anything related to pregnancy, they're going to have their own unique code. So it's not going to just be varicose veins. It's going to be varicose veins, and it's going to be a specific code that's representative of occurring during pregnancy, maybe even down to the second trimester. Let's see here. So I just did a little search, brought up 346 entries of varicose veins. So lower legs. Oh, look, veins, lower extremities. I want to start there and see where it takes me. I could start here. Lower extremities. I know that I have to find one that ends with pregnancy to make it complete. I think I'm just going to start here. O, copy, 022.0. All right. Remember, O codes is very specific to when it's conditions are occurring, okay, or even a cause of pregnancy. And then there we go. So what does it want from us? Oh, trimester. So look at this. 022.0 is lower extremity unspecified trimester. No. First trimester, second trimester. There we go. 022.02. Lower extremity, second trimester. All right, up next we have a urethral stricture due to obstetric injury occurred during last delivery. So basically, they're just giving you some history here that this stricture happened during another delivery. So I'm thinking post due to obstetric injury occurred during last delivery. So this stricture has nothing to do with pregnancy. It happened during the last delivery. Okay, this is the patient's current condition. All right, so we coded one like this before. So we could go to urethral stricture. If I was to go into my index, of course, you want to start with the word stricture first, and then followed by anatomic site, urethra. And then, of course, we know this has got to be female, right? Because it occurred during a delivery. So let's see here. Post-traumatic urethral N35.01. Do they have one that's specific for female? Overlapping sites, stricture female N35.021, stricture due to childbirth. Let's click on this one. N35, oh, there it is right there. Post-traumatic urethral stricture female. Got a stop sign though. Due to childbirth. N35.021. There we go. N35.021. All right. Let's see here. Up next, malignant hypertension. So hypertension is going to be the condition. Malignant is the type. Now, malignant in this scenario does not mean cancer. Just a little FYI there. Let me X out of here. So I'm going to go hypertension. And first I'm going to look for it right in my index. And I'm just showing you guys a couple different ways that you can, again, utilize your index without actually having to go to the letter H, right, and start scrolling. We could start by just putting in the word and then going over to the section, because we have 449 entries of the word hypertension, right? So then we got to get real specific. So I can come over here and start scrolling and then look for hypertension malignant. Probably even put that extra term in there. See what happens. Oh, nice. Sweet. I see the word malignant right here. Hypertensive, accelerated benign, essential, idiopathic, malignant, systemic. All right, so this is the index entry. Hypertension, malignant, and then default code is I-10. And then notice all of these are indented, which makes them subterms more specific. If we don't have any of this descriptive, right, not malignant is a non-essential modifier that's included in this default code. Occasionally, your category codes are going to be your final answer. So, for example, I-10. I codes, that's going to be your circulatory system. There we go. I-10. And then that's it. No additional characters, just I-10. Essential primary hypertension. It says it includes high blood pressure, arterial, benign, essential, malignant, primary, systemic. And then that's it. There you go. All right. Up next, we got heart failure. Well, failure is going to be your condition, right? So we haven't done this in a few answers here. Let's go to the F's, right? And let's just go to failure. And then we'll start from there. Oh, I love that. The index is being kind to me. All right. And then I'm going to go to heart. There we go. And then I-50.9. And so it could have been acute, senile, sudden, any of those. Or it could say nothing, right? And it's still going to be I-50.9. That is your final answer on that one. '17, hypoglycemia in type 2 diabetes mellitus. I want to go to diabetes and then look for with hypoglycemia. Another detail here is that there's different types of diabetes. So there's type 1, which is going to be like your juvenile diabetes, and then you're going to have type 2 diabetes, which is going to be your acquired diabetes, typically, managed with insulin, even diet, etc. All right. Delusions, dementia. I think diabetes is right here. Okay, diabetes with hypoglycemia. All right, let's go check this one out. Hypoglycemia, right? Okay, so E11.641. Go over to the tabular entry. Okay. E11.641, type 2 diabetes mellitus with hypoglycemia with coma. This is why never code directly from the index. Always follow through to the tabular section. If we would have chose that from the index and not investigated further, we'd be wrong because we have no information about a coma. So we need one that doesn't represent a coma. So E11.649, type 2 diabetes mellitus with hypoglycemia without coma. And again, you're like, but it doesn't say anything about a coma. Great. That's a good reason to choose without coma. E11.649. All right. Nausea and vomiting. Those are a sign and a symptom. All right, so why did I bring that up? That's because signs and symptoms codes are always going to start with the letter R. Fun fact. So, I could start at nausea or vomiting. Let's see what happens when I choose nausea and vomiting. Why not? And let's see here. It didn't take me to anything inside of the index there. Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to start with the ends and go to nausea, N-A, There we go. Nausea and vomiting. So with vomiting, R11.12. Remember, those first letters of these codes are going to guide you as to what body system this is occurring in, or just even the specific chapter or section. So in this area, R codes represent signs and symptoms, and there is your nausea and vomiting unspecified. R11.2. All right, 2 more to go. Exposure to rubella. Okay, so this isn't saying that the person has rubella. They're saying they were exposed. I'm going to start in my index and I'm going to go to, rubella. I was going to start with exposure, but I think I'm just going to go right to rubella. See what's listed there. I feel like exposure might take us on a little bit of an extra journey, and we don't have to go on it. Trying to reduce the journey. I love it. There we go. Exposure to rubella. Z20.4. And I'm not going to go to the index or tabula on this one. Last one. Okay. Acute upper respiratory infection. So out of all of this, infection is the problem. Where it's occurring at is in the upper respiratory system, and the type is acute. Okay. So keyword infection comes first. And then find upper respiratory or upper. Let's see here. Impaction, incised, incontinence, infant, getting there. Okay, infection, infected, infective. All right, now we're at the keywords, and now respiratory, upper respiratory. Boy, there's a lot of codes to look through here. M's, N's, O's. I'm getting there. Pulmonary says lung, respiratory tract, acute, upper acute. There we go. Upper acute J06.9. All right. And then we could take that one over so J06.9. J codes are your respiratory, diseases of the respiratory system. And there we are. J06.9, acute upper respiratory infection, unspecified. It can also be described as a upper respiratory disease acute, upper respiratory infection not otherwise specified. And now it does say use additional code to identify, if known, the virus. But we're not coding that because it didn't give us details of a virus. So our final answer on this one is going to be J06.9. All right, guys, that wraps up your week 4 ICD-10 coding quiz. I hope this was supportive, and I'll see you in your week 5 episode. Have a great week.